Everyone, I have a treat for you today as our first 2022 Cup of Joe guest, an old, dear friend of mine, Christopher Mayer. He was in the first Narrator group I ever joined, started, engaged in, loved, and such a strong personality. And I can't believe, like 90 years later, we're sitting here, still doing the thing we love. And there so much, I have to say, I did ask him quite a lot of questions before the call. So I couldn't help it. The guy is just really interesting. And also, I want to talk about, first tell us about, okay, Christopher or Chris, which do you actually prefer?
Either one is fine. As I joke, just don't call me late for dinner. Whatever you want.
I like Christopher, kind of Christopher Robin-y kind of. I like Christopher. Very grown up and old fashioned.
I've always gone by Chris. Christopher, I actually really like the name Christopher. I really like my name, Christopher James Mayer. But I figured it's so formal, but I figured I would use that for my professional name, mainly because there's a lot of Chris Mayers out there.
Yeah, there are a lot of Chris's.
There's three on Audible.
Oh, are there?
There's three different Chris. Yeah, there's even another Christopher James Mayer, but he's German, so you could probably tell the difference between him and me by the books. Yeah. But there's a Christopher W. Mayer, who's an author.
Oh. So Chris, so you're Christopher to me. I'm going to stick with Christopher. So
that's fine.
I want to know what drew you, because am I right that you were a gamer as well?
Yeah.
And did you do the whole Dungeons and Dragon and virtual life thing when you were young? Okay. Yes.
Still there.
So how did you start out? Were you like 10-year-old Christopher going, this is what I'm going to do? What were I like to start in the beginning.
Start out with what? Gaming or
like
the audiobooks?
Your interests. 10-year-old Christopher, what were you going to be when you grew up? What did you love more than anything?
You know, it's funny because God Hour?
Yep.
I'm doing what I wanted to do. Like the audiobooks is, animation and audiobooks is what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. I just had no idea how to do it.
Where did you grow up?
Montclair, New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
But my dad would bring home all the old radio dramas from the library for us when I was a kid. The Shadow, Hardy Boys, the Blue Beetle, Abbott and Costello stuff.
Like cassette tapes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I never really got books on tape. I always gravitated towards the audio dramas. But I loved that stuff because I would listen to it in bed. I had a little TV as a kid, a little portable TV in my room. But I would always listen to the audio dramas. And then when I heard Mark Hamill in the Star Wars audio drama, and then read, because I was a big Star Wars nerd, kind of still am, but not as big as when I was a kid. And then read his comments about how much he loved voice acting, and that's what made him really go into voice acting. So yeah, that cemented it for me. That's what I wanted to do. And I always liked one of my favorite scenes. This should illustrate it. One of my favorite scenes from Beauty and the Beast is when she's reading him the book, when she's teaching him how to read and reading him a book. It's like 5 seconds in this montage, in the montage song, something there. But that's one of my favorite scenes, and the act of reading someone a book, the act of sharing a story is a very intimate connection.
Yeah.
And it's one, in my mind, it's one of love and companionship, and that's what we do. You know, we give our love and companionship and hopefully entertain somebody for 8-10 hours or so.
I noticed in your podcast, and that's funny that you say that, because I was always thinking that the seed of who we are, the most interesting part of us, He's usually who we were when we were like 8, 9, 10 years old. It's like when we first became us, separate from our
Yeah,
parents. But
yeah,
it's how you react to things as well. And what it's maybe not who you are, but what you love. Because that kind of, and then what you said about telling stories, because that was the thing I noticed when I didn't have a lot of time, but I logged on to listen to the MayerZine,
MayerZine.
MayerZine. And
Basically, it's a plan on audio magazine. It was going to be the audio zine, but I think that was taken. It's basically it's an audio only magazine.
I
You
like
know, done. I
MayerZine
want
better
to
than
try to do it
Audio
in the
Zine. I like
yeah. I wanted to try
MayerZine
to do
better.
something in the style of the old, the old sci-fi periodicals.
Yeah, I think MayerZine's perfect because it's kind of a one of a kind. There's audio everything now. It's like
Yeah,
putting your
I
profile
kind of
with
I
a,
kind of thought it was a little I still don't like having my name as the thing, but it works.
I like it. I like it.
Recognizable.
The part that I first ended up on was the part you were talking about, gift you got your wife. But the
Which she
thing is,
listened to and threw my words back at me, by the way.
see, that's the thing. You got to be careful what you say because people are
I
listening.
didn't think she actually listened. So it's
But
like,
what you said about telling people a story and offering comfort to someone, that immediately comes through. It immediately comes through. Professional Chris trying to sell his part in the audio industry and this is my brand. That's not what that is. That's Chris having a great chat with us and Chris. And I think that makes you special. I mean, you were talking
well,
about how
thank you.
much you love your writers. And I have a question for you about that, actually.
Okay.
I'm very curious about a subject that's on my mind lately. And I suspect you fall on the other side of the camp. I might be surprised, maybe you don't. Um,
I'm probably in the campfire. That's where I am.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Because you're on Discord, I suspect that you might.
oh, I'm probably in the campfire. Yep.
Yeah. um, okay, so the whole thing about once narrators have been narrating for a while, they say the received wisdom is you never, ever, ever upload files as you go. And you don't, because it encourages micromanaging. And I had some, because I'm not very good at, in my head, it translates as bad customer service. So I need to draw very firm lines in my welcome pack when I start working, because if I start getting into uploading as you go and everything, then I don't have any boundaries and I'm in trouble. But
Right.
my
And that's the key word,
communication
is putting it in the welcome pack
in the welcome pack, but
as you draw your boundaries.
they still don't understand. And a lot of times, so I'm very curious because I know a few people and a lot of them are on Discord and they're used to it and they have, and it's what you'd said about having a great working relationship, because I'm torn because I love my writers. Like I have amazing, the more interaction, the better. But, and I was very good at saying, look, I need you to be 150% happy with this sample because you're not going to get another chance. But what's happened lately is it's kind of turned on me. So I put so much stress on the sample is it, this is all, that they then overdo the sample and they give me like really detailed, and then I come
Right.
back kind of defensive, like you can't do this, and so that communication, I'm very curious about how other narrators manage that level of
Well,
communication in the
what
beginning.
I do is I always have a chat with my author, and this is the indie author series CX or whatever. I always have a chat as long as I need to. Could take 5 6 hours. Sometimes a couple of occasions it took about 4 hours. We just sat there chatting.
On Zoom.
No, well, on the phone, on Zoom, on what, however. Actually, one author that actually lives in New Jersey, we went and had dinner, and I'm like, okay, tell me everything you want to tell me about this book.
Right.
Tell me. I make a list. And I have the chat after I do prep. So I listed it, so I know the characters. I have lists of the characters, so I know what the book is about. And I'll write down questions for them, any question that I have, and then we'll have the chat. And usually when before all of this, I'll say, the welcome packet. This is, I'm the director, you're the director and the actor and stuff, and then blah blah, blah, draw the lines and stuff, and here's how it's going to work. Logistically, here's how the process works. Because most of my authors, this was their first audiobook, so I was holding their hand through the process anyway.
Yeah.
So I said, well, this is how it works. We do this thing, then I give you the first 15, and that's your opportunity to give your directorial input, and then it comes back to me for my interpretation, and together we'll create something special. But before that, before any recording is done, I sit down and I have a chat with them, and I ask them all about their characters, all about the book. If it's a series, I'll ask them about future books, because which I'm constantly glad I do, because one character turned out to be Scottish and it wasn't mentioned until book 3. So it's like, but I'll have these chats with them, and by the end of it, I think they're satisfied enough that they've given enough direction that they can then hand it over to me.
So do you upload everything at the end, or do you allow any input during the recording?
Getting to that.
Because Discord encourages it.
Well, Discord, I always tell them, if I have an author drop in, I'll tell them, this is the process. This is warts and all. You're seeing the dailies.
Right.
You're not seeing the finished product.
Right.
So don't judge it as a finished product. It's like in the gaming world now, early access is the thing for computer games. So you're buying an unfinished product, and a lot of people are going, oh, it's so full of bugs. It has this is not working. It's missing the 5th level. I'm like, yes, because you bought an unfinished product. Yeah. It's not done yet.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. It's they're seeing the dailies, they're seeing the warts and all. And the authors that did pop in were, loved the process. They loved hearing my mistakes. They loved hearing they go, oh, I didn't realize it took this to make this.
Yeah, I'm a Photoshop girl.
For the most part, it
freaks me out.
But getting back to the initial question, that's when that initial conversation that I have with the authors, that's when I feel them out.
Okay.
I don't tell them I'm going to upload as I go along. I tell them generally how the audiobook process works,
right,
in the welcome packet. And then I say, if I feel that they're not going to micromanage, if I feel I have a good relationship with them, I'll say, I'll put this up. Excuse me. I'll put up the chapters as I finish them, so you can listen to them and we'll get a jump on approval, quickly that way. And if there's anything glaring, you can tell me, you can nip that in the bud right away. Like if I use this voice for a character and it's really, really like whiny and you hate it, or if it's the wrong accent, you can tell me before I record the whole book. And I tell them, and this is how I tell them, but save your input, save any things for really big glaring things. Because if I have to go back and re-record, I call them that's pickups, every time I do that, it reduces the fidelity of the audio. Every time I do that, it's going to make the book worse.
And that's, you try to explain that.
Right. So yeah. we want to try to do that as little as possible, because I want to give you the best product. So save all of your corrections for the really big stuff that really bother you. Otherwise, it's just going to make the book worse.
But wait, so
and a lot of them are and they go with it. But like I said, I feel them out first. There are a couple authors I haven't done this with, that I just did everything and put them up, because I knew they were going to jump on it, and I knew they were going to be micromanaging and feel like they wanted to control the process.
Because I think I've gotten so firm that they're afraid to ask for anything at the end of the book. And then I found myself lately going, honestly, if there's a word that's like a mispronunciation and the proofer missed it and I missed it, tell me. I don't want it wrong. I mean, I'm a professional. I want to give you a good product. You don't want to accuse anyone in the beginning of, I'm worried you're going to give me either tons of interruptions, or I'm worried you're not going to tell me anything, like the one writer I did. And the first word in the book was the name of the main character. The first word in the entire book, in the 15 minutes that I did 3 times, it's
And they didn't tell you it was wrong in the first 15?
She afterwards requested the 482 pickups for that word, right before she told me that she really wished she'd hired a male Latino narrator instead. So, I mean, maybe she didn't understand that I wasn't male or Latino.
Your name kind of gives that away.
But so I like that. So you put a lot into the relationship.
I do a lot of I do a lot of hand holding right up front, and I do, like, I phrase it to invite them into the process, but I invite them in such a way that you would I don't know, you would tell an executive producer, invite them to collaborate. You want them to feel that they're a part of it, but by the same token, you're not handing them the reins.
Yeah, see, with me, I will kill myself to get that 15 minutes right. I will do it 20, 30 times. But honestly, if it's not right, then probably I'm not the right voice for you. But I want you to 100% love it. But once I've done the 15 minutes, my tendency is, if they're too present in the process of narrating, I start focusing on people pleasing instead of narrating. I start worrying about.
You got to stick to your guns. You got to stick to your boundaries. You got to stick to this. This is how it works. This is your opportunity. You give me everything you want to give me now, because you're not going to have another chance to.
What did you do before you became a narrator for money?
Well, I've been in IT. I'm a computer operator for the last years.
Because you're really, really smart. I mean, like, have you ever had your IQ? You're like IQ smart. You're like one of those Mensa smart people.
Never. Well, I play games. You can just play games. Be smart. I do Sudoku. I do puzzle. I love puzzles. I love games. So just and playing games helps your critical thinking. I would always that's something that we would always play games with our parents, and that's just how I was brought up. And that's why I have a big passion for board games, is that, again, the connection, family connection, the friends connection, everybody sitting around a table having a great time. But it also, like, it's clinical studies have shown, in retirement homes and stuff, as they play games, it saves off dementia. It helps Alzheimer's.
That really worries
helps keep
me.
Your brain sharp.
It worries me because I cannot focus on a game for more than 2 seconds without dying of boredom. And it does worry me because technically that, like, staves off Alzheimer's. The only game I was ever good at or interested in, that card game Spit. Remember Spit? There was, like, I don't know why, but we were obsessed with that for like my whole childhood. But besides that, nothing. So probably I'm going to have dementia in a few years.
Well, the
but not joking about it.
You might already not know it.
Oh, thanks. Well, actually, I mean, the thing is, somebody, I think it was Jim. I don't know if it was one of the people that do a lot of nonfiction, either Jim or Peter. Somebody brought up, because I was saying it's quite a challenge. We use our brain very, very focused way doing this job. So I was thinking that's very good for our brain. You know what I mean? It's good exercise. And then they brought up, no, because you're supposed to use it in different ways. So you're constantly challenging it, not in the same.
Yeah.
And you do think, the other night I was up all night long, right? I'm not going to say the name of the publisher, because in case anyone ever sees this, but I was up all night long because I got it into my head that the last book I sent to this publisher, I hadn't converted all the files to FLAC files, right? And I thought, I've got to check, why didn't I do that? So I woke up first thing in the morning and checked, And no, I hadn't converted it to FLAC files. So I checked the other 4 books I'd done with them, and I hadn't converted any of them to FLAC files. And I whatever. I contacted another narrator. I said, this publisher takes FLAC files, right? Because I've been working for them and sending them books. No. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea who I would have sent FLAC files to. What I was thinking.
I've had things like that where you wake up thinking something, like your brain is just telling you something. It's just wrong. You just panic. It's this little mind panic.
Yeah.
We probably all had something like that happen.
Okay, so it's not personal. Okay.
No, you're normal.
The other thing. No, I'm not normal. Let's not pretend. But the other. Okay, this is the other thing I want to know. I made a comment before our call, and I'm really excited to hear about this because when I first met you, we were all like, this was before everyone's very digitally savvy these days, and they all see everyone on the internet, and we've all coach hopped. But remember when we first set that group up, it wasn't so much like that yet. And a lot of us were like, oh my God, who am I compared to other narrators? What am I doing? What am I achieving? And you kind of were quietly on the call, and you were like, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And the thing I've noticed about you is you just quietly do what you say you'll do. And you give the impression that there isn't that in-between angst where you're up at 4 a.m. thinking, what have I done? Why did I even think I could do this? It's like, but you said maybe.
You didn't see me at 4 a.m. earlier.
Okay. So how do you deal with that? Do you?
Well, all right. So I've learned one thing. And this, I don't know if this is particular to me, or the more I talk about something, the less inclined I am to actually do it. I'll just keep talking about it. And I'll just end in my brain, I'm doing it because I'm talking about it. So my brain's going, it's fine, playing pretend and doing it. So the only way to really do something is to stop talking about it and do it. Because the more you talk about it, you're not doing it. And that's,
like
that was particular for me. Right. That was particular for me. I would talk about it, and then I wouldn't really feel the need to do it because I just talked about it.
Yeah.
With the podcast, with the MayerZine, there are very actually specific reasons I went and did that. But 4 years ago,
it's unique. It's really unique. And it's like, it's obviously a creative thought occurred to you, and you just like made it happen.
Well, like you said, I've been thinking about this for years. I think 4 or 5 years ago, I had audiobooks live that I started and didn't realize and that's the thing. I didn't realize what I was getting into. So I just did it. And I jumped in the water and started to drown. So I'm like, I gotta go back and, but this time, I learned from that. And I think back in June or something.
But jumping first is good, isn't it? I wouldn't do the Cup of Joe calls. I didn't know what I was.
Oh no, absolutely. You have to fail.
Yeah.
You absolutely, you have to try and fail, because that's the only way you learn how to succeed.
Yeah.
It was like what Edison said, he made 1,000 bulbs that didn't work. I learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point did you discover Discord? Because you were the first, I think, was it like you the first person, or you were like the second person on there? I picture Christopher starting Discord and just sitting there tapping his fingers going, hello.
Well, I was on Discord for other things. Yeah, I was already on Discord for other things. And then I don't remember how I found out about the Nook and the Haven. I found out about the Narrator's Nook first. Kyle Tate set that up. Kyle and Jen. And I think, I don't know if Haven's here. I don't know if Haven was, I don't know the story behind that. Haven is the Haven. And so I don't know how those two were set up. I came on afterwards. Kyle said, hey, you want to be an admin? Because I was already an admin with Annalise on her server. The Lit RPG community had different Discord servers, and that's how I was involved in it. On Annalise's server, I was on Jeff Hayes's, floating around. I wasn't an admin on there, but I already knew Discord. So Kyle's like, "Hey, you want to be an admin?" So that's how I got set up in it. And then I
Even said she
kind of was
copied
there.
Kyle. Even said she copied Kyle for a no holds bar romance forum. And I remember she came up with like,
too. It's
yeah. But okay, so my question to you, I remember when you, sorry, is that Avon? Were you saying something, Avon? And Chris got me set up on Discord. Oh, Chris got Avon set up on Discord.
Were you streaming already? I thought you were already streaming.
Nope. Chris, you're the granddaddy of Discord.
Good grief. Going back to the dementia comment. Wow.
And for the record, I'm not making fun of the real dementia.
No. It's
I have to remind myself
we actually went through that with my wife's aunt last year. We watched her go. She was 102. So I mean, she was pretty sharp up to about 98, and then again she stopped playing Scrabble, and she stopped seeing her friends because all her friends were dying. And then her mind started to go.
And that's the other thing. Socializing. Yeah. I remember before my father died, his friends were dying, and he was very depressed because he was a social person. But the thing is I am aware that I have a gallows humor. So, and it doesn't come across well on YouTube and social media. You need to kind of, okay. So I have another question. When I met you, maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly, but I could have sworn you were like doing some crazy hours. And I'm wondering, are you still 5 years later? How do you do it? How do you make that work? Because narrators are new on here.
I was doing different crazy hours when we met, and then I finally went to days. Because I think, you know what? I think when my God, when was that?
Give us your advice, because a lot of narrators on here have 1 or 2 books, and they feel less than if they're still having to do their other job, and they're still having to, because you do feel trying to put your focus.
There are plenty of days when I feel less than, because I am still doing this job, and I'm not making my living off of audiobooks, and I'm not able to really do what I love. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That job is important because it's allowing you to pursue audiobooks.
Yeah. That's what Sean Pratt says in
his
book.
My plan is I'm not quitting the job until I'm able to pay off all of my credit cards.
Okay.
Once all the credit cards are paid off, then I know that I can I'm making enough money. And you go through the numbers. So if I'm bringing in this amount of income, then I'll bank and I'll keep banking. I'll pay off all my credit cards. I'll pay off as much debt as I can. Then you make the leap.
But how do you manage your focus? How do you manage your focus? Are you very strict with yourself? Do you have schedules, or are you a Jennifer Blom and you just like, I'm hanging out and it's all cool over here?
Well, I did have a calendar for a while, and that helped. We can go into this, we can skip it. 2020 personally, 2020 and the beginning of 2021 pretty much destroyed everything for me. It wasn't COVID, it wasn't the state of very personally. That's part of why I started the MayerZine, because I was taking a step back from audiobooks, and little did I know it would be just as much work. It's terrible. There's so much work involved.
I have a theory about that, by the way. You know how you said it wasn't COVID, it wasn't this? I have a theory about that, because in December, people got very depressed. A lot of people got depressed, and I realized
No, for me,
something.
it's different. It has nothing to do with any of
But does it not
the
have to
state of
do
the
with the
world.
rest of the world
No, it
imploding?
was
You can't
very
hide.
personal.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah. I don't want to go, it's
No,
not
no,
a great
don't.
story,
Please
so I don't want to
don't.
go
No,
into it.
I don't want you to feel exposed either. But
No,
I'm just,
I don't mind talking about it, but I'd rather use the hour for happier
yeah,
other stuff.
exactly. And but also, but
But
not only
all these
that.
guys behind me, Avon, the group I was telling you about, Avon, Sarah Sampino, Steph Nemeth Parker, um, Mandy Stribling, Kyle Tate, Craig Hart, Mike Carze, they helped me through it.
Oh, I
The
love
reason I'm
that.
still here, the reason I'm still narrating is because of these guys.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. I love that.
it was a very bad time.
I mean, I don't love that it was bad, and I'm so sorry, but
So now I'm trying to. I use Airtable to track everything, to track all my books, to track everything, and that kind of helps. And especially with my night job, my sense of time has just gone out the window. I have no idea what day it is anymore, from day to day.
right.
So eventually, I have a calendar like right up there. I have a wall calendar, dry erase board that I was tracking my projects with.
How do
Now,
you
this
deal
day,
with
I wrote
sleep and
down.
everything, though? How do you deal with keeping, because I'm asking this for selfish reasons, because I'm so unhealthy, because I don't sleep, I'm up, I'm working, I don't know how to deal with that.
You have to establish, and it's going to be hard at first. I've read all about trying to get good sleep because I don't, from the night hours, and
Yeah,
sleeping during the day is terrible. But you have to establish a pattern. You have to establish a
yeah,
routine. You go to sleep at a certain time. You sleep for a certain amount of hours, and your body will adjust. It'll take a while, but your body will adjust. And I can say that because even before we met and I was doing this, I was working 12-hour shifts way back. Oh my God, 20 years ago.
I remember just meeting you, hearing your schedule was mind-blowing.
And being able to, and when I had to adjust to new hours, that's what I would do. I would sit down and go, okay, I have to go to bed at 10 o'clock so I can get 8 hours of sleep. Then I wake up at 6 and do blah, 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 blah. But I have to go to bed and then wake up and sleep. And eventually you do adjust. I also recommend scotch. That helps. But eventually it happens and you're able to sleep. But
so you're following
I'm one of the last
rules.
people to really talk to about good sleep. So,
but you're following some of the rules. You're following, so you've a little bit of structure. You've got that down, even though it's not the normal 9 to 5 structure. I don't want to go back on like what was wrong, but I love
but you
that
have
during
you
a
have to find a
horrible
structure
time you
that
had
works for your
support.
routine.
Right. But you had support during a horrible time. I think that people go wrong where they don't look for, they don't ask for, or maybe they can't find support during those times.
You've got to get an accountability buddy. I mean, and I don't actually like that word, accountability buddy, because it seems like all the relationship is just keeping you on task.
Yeah.
And keeping you busy, keeping you going. No, make friends. You have to make make friends with your colleagues and get a group together. It doesn't even have to be a formal group. Just get some people together that you can commiserate with. You can vent to. You can, jump in. In Discord, we do what's called sprints, where a couple people will narrate at a time, and then we have a little bot that tracks their time. And that keeps people on task, and it's a fun kind of, not so much competitive, but you're with a friend.
Yeah.
And that really helps.
Yeah.
That because everybody said it. Pratt said it. Johnny Heller said it. We're in there. We're in our booth for God knows how long a day. I mean, and we are all by ourselves, cooped up in this little tiny space. Don't coop yourself up social. Don't coop yourself up in the professional space as well. You've got to make friends.
Yeah, you need someone that you can say the weirdest thing about you, and they will bald-faced lie and say, that's not weird at all. That's what I like.
They like to be called therapists, but I call them my friends.
Yeah, yeah. And you listen to them and do the same for them.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I went on Discord. I was in this like really, I think the second or third time I put Discord back on my computer. I'm really going to make a go of this. And I logged on. I didn't expect anyone to be there because it's UK time. And there was Christopher, just like, hi. I'd only been gone
I
an
live on
hour.
Shanghai time, so I
Yeah.
live exactly opposite time. I work, my hours are 10 p.m. to 7:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So I have breakfast at dinner time, 6:30 p.m. I have I have dinner I have dinner around 7 a.m. So it's like I'm exactly opposite.
Do you know who you'd love? And he has a podcast on night shift workers. Have you ever heard of the Huberman podcast?
No.
He's a professor and a scientist, and
Hmm.
he's like fascinated by brain chemistry and like the best hours to like do certain things and ways to hack.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
You will love it because I know he specifically has a call, one of his early calls on how to get the proper like circadian sleep if you're a night shift worker, and how to like hack your eating hours and like the food you eat so that you're as healthy as you can be, even if you don't
Hmm.
sleep during certain hours. Yeah, you'll love him. He's really, really smart guy. So yeah, Huberman.
Huberman. Okay.
Huberman. I'm obsessed with the guy's podcast, like obsessed. But then I go off on a tangent every single time I listen to one of his podcasts. I'm going to change my whole life. At one point, he said sauerkraut was good for you because of probiotics. So I thought, well, if
Oh,
a little
absolutely.
I had it like 6 times a day for 2 weeks, and I made myself quite ill.
Oh, I make my own, so
Do you?
yeah,
Wow.
it's fun.
Doesn't that take a lot of
You are
time?
literally squeezing water out of plants. It's empowering.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
I love that. Do you live in Jersey now? Oh, Mike
Yes.
says, could we please start the entire call again? Mike, that's why
Well,
we record.
Mike, you and I can do a Zoom call at around what 7, and I can give you a full hour.
Yeah. Ooh, we should do
Can't
a
promise
Mike.
what that hour will be, but I'll give you a full hour.
We should do a call with all the like, I think of as my juvenile delinquent friends, which is like a compliment. Like Mike Carnes and like the whole gang. We should do like a big call and discuss like the wisdom, the meaning of life with all of you guys on a Zoom call one day. Wouldn't that be interesting? Because we had Craig on and we had Mike on, and after each one of those calls, I wanted to like go break rules, maybe even the law. I like irreverent people.
That's probably why our group clicked so well. It's
Yeah. Yeah, you're the kind of you were the kids that like with like the cool goth kids. Okay, so more on point here. Sci-fi fantasy. Is that what you would read yourself, and do you enjoy it as well? Is there
I'm a huge geek. It's
Yeah.
that's it's I've always been immersed in sci-fi fantasy. My my love, my what I really love is middle grade stuff. I guess Harry Potter to be why is not necessarily middle grade because they age up through she wrote it specifically to age up with the kids, but like Fablehaven, Artemis Fowl, um,
So kids,
what's
like young kids stories. I can see your
yeah,
voice.
like that 11 to 13 age.
Oh, I love that. I can see
Ooh.
your voice. The
There's some
same age you
really
were
good
when your
ones.
dad gave you the radio dramas.
Yeah, well, I have a young sounding voice, so I can
Yeah,
really lean in and I think anyway, I can do kids very well because
yeah.
I can thin out my voice and I can age it down. But I love that stuff. I love reading that to me, and I think that passion you can hear that passion in when I do those books. The Twins of Orion, which I was telling you about before the call, that's middle grade fantasy. And that's going to be the next big franchise. If she can get them written, it'll be the next big franchise. They're so good. The first book is so good.
You notice when you do a book like that, like, I notice when I do thrillers, I have almost no pickups. But when I do other genres, I have to be more careful. When I do nonfiction, I have to be really careful.
For me, I think it's actually the opposite. When I'm really into the book and I'm really passionate, I'm really going, my analytical brain shuts off and I'll start paraphrasing because I'll become the characters. And I paraphrase, and I know when it's a book that I'm really into, it's a book that I really like, I can inhabit the characters really well and I become those characters. So I start talking like them, and they won't say what's written. They'll say what they should say. They'll say, there won't be anything that they'll like, it'll still sound like them, but it's not what's written. And likewise, the narration won't be, I'll paraphrase the narration a little bit because of my background in writing, and because I know I've read these books, I know the writing, well, I'll start tweaking phrases or adding my own things or whatever. Like, I'll start inserting myself just naturally into the book, and it'll become this kind of collaboration, if you will, between the two of us. And then I have 2 zillion pickups in that chapter. So
because they want to collaborate, but not be rewritten.
It becomes it's a great performance, but it's not what's actually in the script. So,
but it's what I heard in your podcast, and it's what you seem to do in everything, is that your passion. People know when you love what you're doing, when you're talking into their ear and they're listening, because I listen to audiobooks before I go to bed every night. And when somebody's talking into your ear, telling you a story, if they love what they're doing. And we all have bad days or something. But I think that your love with what you're doing translates into charisma. I think that you have charisma, but that's what we're all dying to get. And we fumble around with the technical bits of it.
We're all performers here. We all have charisma.
Yeah.
Otherwise we wouldn't be performing.
I think we get in the way of our charisma, though. I think if we start worrying about the technicalities and the rules, and we don't know who we are, and we go into the booth, I think that we leave our charisma behind, personally. I think it's easy to lose.
Right. If you're not prepared, you second guess yourself, and you take yourself out of the equation.
Yeah.
That's the key. You have to prepare, and you have to know what you're doing once you get in there. It's like going on stage without having read the script.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe or learning your lines. It's like going on stage without having learned your lines.
Yeah.
You might know it well enough to improvise, but you'll be insecure and you'll be second guessing yourself, and that'll come across.
So I have another question for you. Fair warning, everyone, if you have any quirky questions for Chris, this is the time to type them in, and I'll give them to him after I hit him with the big bombshell question I hit everyone with. But before we get to that, I'm curious,
might be nice.
How has Chris changed? What lessons? Because I found the biggest challenge in this job, which was a shock, was mindset and dealing with myself, and having to grow as a person and become a whole evolved human being.
That's actually an easy answer.
Is it?
Because it happened these past couple of years.
What would you teach your old self if you could go back and make it easier for yourself?
Well, I haven't changed. Well, fundamentally through the years, I have changed, but I haven't really changed at all. It's just confidence. It's for a very, very long time, there's you're just acting as if they could till you make it, that sort of thing, project, and the confidence will come. But I've never really had audiobooks wise, that confidence in myself until about a couple of years ago, or
What do you
even
think
like
gave
last
it to
year.
you? What do you think shifted it?
Um, Discord, actually, the group, the friends I made
Hmm.
on Discord, all their support and all their love, and then listening to them stream as well, and just not not comparing myself, but going, oh hey, these are my peers. I'm in this group. I belong to this group. I belong here. I
You
belong
saw
doing
the bigger
this.
picture
Yeah, all of a sudden it
outside
clicked,
of
and
yourself.
I now finally I feel like I belong here
Yeah,
than doing this.
yeah,
And for a long time that didn't have. It's like doing theater for a while. That was I have a large theater background. Um, I was known in school and in community as being fearless. Um,
yeah. I can see
you
that.
know, on stage, because it's a fake it till you make it. Like, okay, I'm going to prove that I can be on the stage, and then somewhere along the way, I gained the confidence to back up that fearlessness. I gained the confidence going, I belong, because I made, again, it's all about making friends. It's all about making friends.
Yeah,
I had a theater in Montclair, community theater, that we were all friends, and I belonged there. And that's the key, I think, is is not so much getting the work. It's not so much how many books you have. It's not so much it's not so much who do you know. It's not name dropping. It's not how many hours do you work, how many words can you do, how many, what's your word, um, what's your finished hour ratio. It's not that. It's make friends with your colleagues, make friends in the group you want to be in, and they will help you feel like you belong there, because you do. And they'll show you, you'll see it through their eyes. Whereas if you're just shouting into the void, you may never get the confidence, because you're tracking yourself analytically, and you're looking at, and you're constantly chasing this ideal of yourself that you don't know that you've already achieved.
yeah. I like that. Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. And that's especially helpful for, I always think we get a lot of new members in the Cup of Joe. And a lot of them, when they fill in the questionnaire, they say, I've done 2 books, or I've done my first book and I'm setting this up. And it's a kind of scary moment when you've done 2 books and you're overwhelmed and everyone else seems to be, but I always think about them that I wish they knew that yes, everyone else seems like they already know each other and they know everything and they've done everything, but you don't have to like just dump $1,000,000 and get 8,000 coaches right this very second and look at every online course. There are a lot of people that are just like you that have done 1 or 2 books. Make
But
friends.
that's why I love the Cup of Joe. That's why I love, and I'm so happy you have me on this, because I felt this is your natural progression from the group that we started back in,
Yeah,
back when. This is what you really wanted to do, is you really want to build a community, and you
yeah,
did that. You have this community around the Cup of Joe calls, and I think that's a great service to our industry, to
thank you.
um, our larger community. Is you have a place where all these narrative, I've only done 2 books, can come and become part of a community, become friends with, find their friends, find their groups through
And
this
that's
larger
what I
group.
want. I want all
Yeah,
those people that only have like 2 books to create their own groups, to create their, little friend group, 6 of them, where they check in with each other. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a safe place that you can grow in the journey with each other.
right.
Yeah. And you feel like you see a familiar place as a
Hmm.
familiar face. Do you know what I mean? It makes it a lot less lonely in that booth. Except I
Yeah,
did have
that's
my
and
being on Discord. I think you guys are brave because I had my writer on there and I'm still in shock for how stressed out I was that day. um, Something about seeing behind the curtain freaked me out.
I find a lot of people really love it. They love watching that behind the scenes stuff. They love watching the process. They love watching us screw up and curse ourselves out, and they just, it's, I don't know. It's something like they feel like they're a part of it. You know,
Yeah.
they become more invested in it in a way, I think.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. And I just have to own myself. I've always been you know how there's like the people that are like natural and they love nature and they go on, the girls and don't wear makeup and this is just me and hello. And they're so beautiful because they're so in love with like their natural self. I was a valley girl in the mall with makeup on my face the minute I was old enough to sneak that stuff in a purse. So I think at some point you just give up changing. You know what I mean? So
Oh, I know what you mean. That's
what has been your biggest challenge your whole life?
confidence.
Yeah.
I
You
mean, that's,
seem so confident, Chris,
I'm faking it like crazy right now.
but you're a good
Um,
faker, obviously. But they say take the
well,
action.
well, so the funny thing is I have social anxiety. Um, so like big things like APAC and you know, other conventions, that is, that's terrible for me. Because I walk into that room and go, oh my God. I'm also a bit of an empath in that I'm an introvert, but I gain my energy from other people. Like I'll mirror what's around me. So if everybody's enthused, I'm at a party, everybody's having a good time, I'll soak up that energy and have a good time. That's why I love doing live theater, because
Yeah.
I feed off that, you know,
Yeah.
you feed
That's
off
me
that
too.
crowd. Um,
That's me too. But then do
so
you
I
find when you're
seem
in a
like an extrovert a
situation,
lot
but when people
because
are
I'll give it
negative,
back.
doesn't it feel bad? Because I remember walking to my old job through the tube in the morning with all these miserable people, and it was so
Oh
bad.
yeah,
I could
yeah,
feel that negativity just like
yeah,
in my bones, like literally depressed.
yeah.
Because when it's good if they're positive, except you're tired for 6 days after the party. But if they're not positive, or if somebody's depressed in the house, you can't
Yeah,
just,
I can't have strong confrontations. We'll put it that way.
yeah, I can't either.
The minute there's strong emotions kind of rise up, I need to check myself and take a step back and be cold, which will piss them off even more, because otherwise I'll start escalating right on top of that, you know, almost immediately. Like it's like it's like the acting mirror exercise, and I'll just, and that's no good to anybody.
Yeah, I walk out of
Um,
the room.
so
I can't even be in the room.
yeah,
I can't stand it.
that's, I won't say that's always been an issue with me, but that's part of the whole confidence thing is that social anxiety, and that I can't really. So Discord was a godsend for me. You know,
Yeah.
being I was always online, even back in the day. The pre-internet BBSs and stuff. I was always in the forums. I was always online, chatting with people, because it was easier for me to come across, because I didn't have emotions to contend with. You know, I didn't have to look people in the eye. I didn't have to go. And there's a lot of child stuff in this. There's like I could there's like 5 therapy sessions in here. So
But
the short answer is confidence was
but
always my biggest
I
problem.
love that you know what, you've actually just helped me because I'm the same way in that I mean, if anybody's noticed, I'm like the Zoom queen now. Quarantine was like the funnest 2 years of my life. I'm like, and all my friends are like, I can't wait to get it back and hug people. I can think of nothing worse. I'm at the point that like I barely want to see somebody if I have to go on a walk around the house. So
Right,
it's
but
like,
that's the other side of that coin. Is I actually prefer to be with my friends and people. I prefer to be in person with them, because I can soak up their energy. I can get that connection.
see, I
I
don't
much
like it. It
prefer being
freaks
in
me
person.
out. It freaks me out. But then again, I can go to a party forever and be the last one to leave and kissing and hugging a million strangers, isn't it? But I don't think when you're saying, oh, that's a therapy session right there.
Oh no, the whole confidence thing. There's years of um, growing up therapy stuff that made me lose my confidence. So that's, you know, that's always been my biggest thing.
Do you look at it, because I'm looking at the quirks or negative parts of my personality that make me weird or different, and I'm starting to wonder if, because those flow into your greatest strengths too, because the
Yeah.
things that you've said, the lack of confidence causes you to, you do things you wouldn't normally have done. You act brave at times you normally wouldn't have acted brave. You take actions. You've been doing, it's created a great part of your personality, trying to compensate for what you feel as a lack of confidence.
Right, and that's the key word I was going to bring up: compensation and adaptation to your weaknesses, which in turn become your strengths.
Yeah, and I think it's your strengths that everyone instantly loves you. But because I mean, they do. You got to acknowledge it. They do. You're a loved part of the narrator community. You're known and you're loved. I appreciate that. So, and I think
it's funny because these past few months is the first time that I found this out. It's like, really? I didn't even know like people knew who I was. You know, it's other than the Discord people. I'm like, people know who I am.
Your name has come up on the Cup of Joe calls quite often. You're not watching enough.
Apparently not.
No, your name has definitely come up.
To be fair, I mean, I've only watched a few episodes because I don't. My running joke is if I'm not recording the book, prepping the book, or want to do the book, I have no time for any sort of media.
I don't have time. I miss everyone else's podcasts and things. I feel so bad, but it's like, you know, but your name, but all joking aside, you are a part of the community and you're well loved and well known, and there's just something authentic about you. And
hopefully that'll translate to well booked.
Yes, it will. Well, it will for all of us, because I'm saying that 2022 is our year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So
I'm that was a joke. I'm kind of happy just doing, and that was a plan. I've got a few books that I'm trying to get out of the queue, but I'm just going to focus on the podcast for a little while.
Yeah.
And take some time, reset myself and recover. And it's already been helping a lot. Just focusing on the podcast. I took these past couple of days off so that I wouldn't be exhausted doing this call, but also I used it to use Monday and Tuesday to pretend I'm a full-time narrator. And oh God, it's so much fun. And I got all of January done recorded for the
Chris,
for the podcast.
The amount of time you spend on Discord and narrating and in the narrating world, I hate to break it to you, but you spend pretty much as much time as most full-time narrators do anyway. Plus you do the other job. I only record on the weekends. You know, I'm only recording on the weekend. How much do you record on a weekend day when you record?
I try to get 2 finished hours. If I do a full day, my full day is about 2 hours in the morning, break for lunch, and then about 3 hours in the afternoon.
And you do that 2 days a week?
Yeah.
And you're on Discord. And you're on Discord.
It depends on what's going on, because I have to do everything for life on the weekends too.
And you do the podcast. Because I consider these podcasts, I consider the Cup of Joe calls being a narrator. This is part of my job.
Well, the podcast is not separate from. That's basically what I'm recording now on the weekends. It's just the podcast.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised when you look at your output. Do you know what I mean? And the amount you get done with everything else.
When I say full-time narrator, I mean, like everybody talks. We see all these. Everybody's sharing their numbers on Facebook. For 2021.
I'm sorry,
and some of them are like, I do
400 days of recording a year.
Well, like what I mean by full-time narrator, I only have 22 titles up on Audible. I've only had 2 books come out last year.
Yeah, but some of the big
people are doing
narrators,
60, 70.
but some of the
You
big
know,
narrators only have 20 books. It
right.
depends
But
on,
if I could devote my time, my sole job was being a narrator, I
yeah,
could probably put out, yeah, at least a book a month,
yeah,
you know, and still
yeah,
do the podcast. And I have all this time to do what I love to do instead of just 2 days on, 2 days out of the week recording. But my job does, when I'm awake for it, there is a lot of downtime, and I can do non-recording stuff while I'm doing my job, because it's not very what I do, everything's automated. So I just watch little gray boxes turn yellow and then turn green. If they turn red, I have to call somebody to fix it. So if there's and there's some tracking stuff I got to do. There's spreadsheets involved, and um but if everything goes well, I have a lot of time to do prep editing, planning. Everything that's not recording I can do while I'm doing my survival job.
yeah,
So on paper, this should work out really well. In reality, I'm passing out at 2:30 in the morning every
yeah.
night for about an hour. And it's just very well. Also, my own voice puts me to sleep. I've learned this because I've edited other people's work, and
You
it
should
has
do
not put me to sleep.
self-hypnosis tapes too.
Yeah, so my own voice will put me right to sleep.
But I confess it triggers me because I'm sorry, some of those, the amount of hours, I'm not saying anyone's lying. Of course, everyone records things differently and everyone,
Oh, it is. It's hard not to compare yourself. It is. It's
yeah,
very hard not to compare.
it triggers me because I look at the amount of hours in a day and I literally look at how much it takes to narrate and like maybe brush your teeth that day as well. Possibly on a day you skip dinner to like, and the numbers, and it drives me crazy because I don't understand like how people fit in like what amounts to like 400 recording days in a year.
Well, and most people are just always in the booth. And that's where they want to be.
Yeah, but I'm
They want
always
to
in
be
the
they want to
booth
be go
and
go
I
go go
can't do
go.
it. I can't do it. I'm always in the booth. And then I'm thinking maybe I need to talk faster.
Excuse me. Sorry.
So, Chris,
Um,
can I ask you a question?
yeah.
I don't want to miss this one. It's my big one. And I love seeing the looks on my guests' faces. In school when they bury those time lock things, and they put something in it, and then like 20 years somebody will like dig it up. What would you want to put in that box to leave people with for our YouTube audience that are going to see this in 60 years?
David and Michael like this one. My very first, what immediately came to mind is
Okay, I think that's the first time in famous last word.
I don't know what I would want to put first, but like that's the first thing that comes to mind. Just boop,
Does that mean I'm going to
open
have to
that box
create
and
this?
there's a.
I love that.
I'm not saying mine. No, don't get me wrong.
Okay. That
Sorry,
was the
sorry.
non-quirky question. I'm afraid of what you would say to the quirky one. Okay, so
Let me. I can.
alongside that.
Yeah. I'm sort of like may you rest in peace, Bob Saget, where I have this, and I'm really like off camera and on stage. His comedy is, you wouldn't expect it if all you know him is Full House. So
Because you spent
that's
most
kind of
of the
me
call going.
off of Discord.
Yeah, you spent most of the call going. I like to narrate children's books 8 to 11. Like, what would you put in the lockbox? Well,
Yeah.
What would you leave?
And most teachers I know are exactly the same way. Okay, we've had enough of kids. Let's open up the wine and start cursing.
We had the best teachers. I'm old enough that we still had really cool, irreverent teachers. Like the teachers I had were like, they would say cool things and let us watch movies we probably shouldn't have watched. And, Did you get when you were a kid, did you ever see those warning movies? I vaguely remember movies about how if you
Maybe.
chew gum on the bus, it'll go off a cliff and you're all going to die.
I don't
If
know. I don't think we watched those.
I think I'm a lot older than you because we got all those movies with like different ways you could die if you don't, if you screw up. Don't take drugs. They
I
show
don't
you the
know.
corpses.
I don't think we watched. If we did, I don't remember. But to answer the lockbox question seriously,
Yes, yes.
um, I also do various art stuff while working polymer clay and stuff. And one of the things I like to do is I make dragons. So I'd actually make a dragon and put that in.
A
Uh,
clay dragon?
yeah.
That's so cool. Do you have them in your booth?
No, they're down. Actually, the ones that are still surviving are because one of them got eaten by a golden doodle. Um, but the ones that are still solid
Wait,
in
is
one piece
it?
are in the china cabinet downstairs.
Is the golden doodle okay? Did it have
Oh yeah, he's fine. He didn't actually eat it. Well, also, it's Sculpey, the polymer clay is non-toxic,
Oh, okay.
specifically for children, not
Okay.
necessarily for dogs. They weren't expecting dogs to eat the polymer clay, but
But I think that's good for your brain as well. Creating things with your hands.
oh
That's
yeah,
so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Creativity in all forms is just create the act of creating something.
Yeah.
Visualizing it and taking it out and learning how to put it together and how to do it. And then in the end, you have something that could be beautiful. It may not be, depends on how good you are, or it could be beautiful and it's complete and utter disasterness. So
But you made me realize because they say that about walking. I read somewhere that walking is so healthy for you because you're telling your body that you have someplace to go, that you've got forward movement. You're telling your body there's a reason to live. You're walking and it's like a subconscious signal to your body. And
I have never heard this and never felt this.
it is true. It's supposedly, I don't leave the house very often anymore, but supposedly it's really good for you because you are physically telling your body, you're sending messages to your brain that you are healthy and there's a reason to live. And I say this,
Hmm.
it's sex is sending a message to your brain that you are still in the
Well, that's some of
game.
the best cardio you can do right
Yeah,
there.
and but it's also sending a message to your brain that there's a reason for you to continue. And creativity, you're birthing a new creation. So all these
Sometimes
things,
it feels like that too.
yeah, it is. It's basically you're creating. So you're telling your brain that you're not redundant. And
Right.
it's, when people
Hmm.
retire and they stop doing things, they give up. It's that you're telling your brain, and that's the thing we said about
Well,
people losing their
yeah, that exactly.
friends.
You give up, and
You're
then
not
your body just
necessary, you're not redundant, your body starts to
right.
shut down. So it's
Hmm.
like the way you move forward in life, and about the old man, I say this on every call because I'm obsessed with it. The age study they did, they took a bunch of old men, they were like 86, 87, 88, and they put them in a house for 2 weeks that was complete. They took all their blood tests and all their stats before, and they put them in this place for 2 weeks, and every single thing in the place was from their youth, from like the 50s or 60s, 20 something years ago. And the newspaper, the food they ate, the clothes they wore, everything.
Hmm.
And when they came out of that house, the experiment, they had physically lost like a decade. Physically, their bodies were like a decade younger. Their eyesight was better. Their cognitive ability was better. They were fit.
Hmm.
It's a famous study. I think it's in the New York Times. And within a few weeks, when they were out interacting with people, being reminded that they were old, that were, they went back down to being like 80. So it's like the way our mind thinks. And so I think what we do, narrating books, we have a job that gives us purpose. And everything you do, you're creating, you're telling
Hmm.
yourself that you're necessary in this world. You're a thriving, necessary part of the
Hmm.
world. I don't know how I got onto that from your lockbox. I digress. Let's go back to the picture you're putting in the book. But yes, yeah, I love that. I love that. I might take a walk sometime this month. So, Chris, this has been a pure pleasure. It's been fabulous catching up with you.
And
And
absolutely my pleasure to do this.
getting ready for this call, people were so excited to talk to you. Everyone knew you. And I was like, I thought I was Christopher's only old friend. So little did I know that how beloved you are in this industry.
Little did I know how beloved I was.
Well, you know it
Thank you.
now.
Yes.
And if you watch any of the old Joe calls, you'll be reminded because you come up quite frequently. So, yeah, we couldn't do without you. Keep doing what you do. And I think it's wonderful that you've shown, especially my people that maybe have the 1 or 2 books, that there's a way to go forward and you don't have to just dump your day job.
Well, can I do a plug real quick for those?
Yes,
1 or 2
please.
people, 1 or 2
And
books?
also any links we can put on the
Eventually,
video as well.
one of the ideas behind the MayerZine is I want to open this up to everybody.
Mhm.
I don't want it to be just me, even though my name's on the tin. It's not the Chris Mayer Show. I want it to be a real magazine, an
Okay.
audio magazine, and feature and have different contributors. And already I've had Mike. I've Avon will be on in February, and Steph did a thing for me. But I want to open this up to, and eventually, once I figure out how to pay people, and I will be paying people for this. Once I figure all that out, I'll be posting it. I'll be doing all this stuff. But
when you do get ready to post it,
if you're interested in doing something for the show, email MayerZine, MayerZine at chrismayervoiceover.com, and I won't reply right away, but at least now I'll put you on the list so that I can email you when we're ready to go.
can you send me that link as well? And I'll put it in the about section of the video. And then also when you do post and it's figured out and you've got the guidelines, we'll put that in the about section as well. We'll keep it updated. Right. So anyone, because people watching the video in like 4 years or something, they can then easily reference the information. So,
but I mean, and part of the idea is I would love for this to be a vehicle for people. Like if you feel like you're typecast and you want, like you're doing horror all the time, or you're doing nonfiction all the time, you want to do some fiction, you want to do a sci-fi, you want to do a fantasy, you want to do
I love that.
A romance or something. This is a vehicle that you can showcase that instead of just sending samples out into the void saying, hey, I got these new samples, and
yeah.
You can email your contacts with, oh, hey, I'm on the MayerZine this week. You can check me out here. I'm doing this cool story.
That's a brilliant idea.
And also, if you know writers who have short stories without a home, I will also be buying contemporary fiction because right now I'm just relying on public domain because I'm broke.
But I love that idea.
But that's the idea for new narrators to be able to put something out there, because we say, do a public domain book if you can't find work, but it takes a while, and a lot of newer narrators may not have the stamina, that may take them longer, and they may feel discouraged because it takes them so long. So I would love this to be a place for other people to use as much as I'm using you,
But the thing is, as you say that though, it's the guests that come on the show, they're seen, people see the video for years, but then again, I get free coaching.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
I come away wiser after every call. So yeah, no, I love that idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. We'll definitely put the link on the video the minute it comes out, and then I'll update it.
I'll put the link on the in our Facebook chat.
Yes. So yeah. No, could you just messenger it to me?
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, I can put it in the chat here if you want it here.
Well, the thing is, after this call, I always post a thank you for the call. So maybe in the comments under that, so that'll be on the top of the Joe group.
Well,
and
I'll
then
message.
everyone
I'll
will see
message
it.
you. I'll message
Okay.
you with the information.
Okay. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. This was a great
Well,
first
thank you for
call to
having me.
bring in 2020, what year is it? 2022 with a bang. Good start, huh?
And a dick pic.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. You're fabulous.
Thank you
You're
for having me.
wonderful. Thank you for joining to the studio audience. Mwah! You're all gorgeous.
Thank you,
Take care, guys.
guys.
2022 is going to be our year, guys.
Absolutely.
Bye. Bye.